The beginning, fire, fear, and the first spark of civilization. Imagine a world with no cities, no nations, no language, and no memory, only endless forests, roaring predators, volcanic skies, and the desperate heartbeat of survival. This was Earth nearly 3 million years ago, long before the first trace of what we call civilization. Yet, somewhere in the heart of Africa, on the sun-scorched plains, a small band of early humans struck a stone against another and created a spark. That tiny spark would change everything. Our ancestors were not mighty warriors or brilliant thinkers. They were fragile creatures, constantly hunted, shivering through dark nights, and fighting starvation with bare hands. But they possessed one thing no other animal had: curiosity. The world terrified them, yet they dared to explore it. They examined bones, broke open stones, watched rivers carve valleys, studied animal footprints, and slowly, painfully, they began to understand the world around them. The first tools were simple, sharp flakes of rock used to cut meat. But even those crude stones marked the beginning of technology. With tools came more food, with food came stronger bodies and smarter minds. And then came the miracle that changed the fate of the species: the mastery of fire. Imagine that moment: flames dancing against the night, predators retreating, warmth replacing fear. Fire gave humans the night. It gave them cooked food, which fed a growing brain. Fire became the heartbeat of early communities, where stories were murmured, lessons shared, and the first sparks of culture ignited. As thousands of years passed, humans migrated across continents. They crossed deserts, sailed oceans they couldn't understand, and trekked into freezing lands that seemed impossible to survive. They faced extinction again and again, from brutal ice ages to erupting supervolcanoes, but each time they adapted, learned, and pushed forward. Slowly, the world began to change. Humans discovered how seeds grew, how rivers flooded, how seasons returned. They learned to tame fire, shape stone, hunt cooperatively, paint their fears and dreams on cave walls, and bury their dead with care and ritual. These early people had no idea they were building the foundations of future empires, cities, and technologies. Yet every tool they sharpened, every fire they lit, and every hunt they survived pushed humanity one step closer to something extraordinary. This was not yet civilization, but it was its heartbeat. A whisper before the storm, a spark before the dawn. And from that spark would rise the first villages, the first gods, the first rulers, and the first wars. The story of humanity, glorious, tragic, and unstoppable, was about to begin. Rivers, cities, gods, and the dawn of writing. As the ice ages faded and Earth grew warmer, something miraculous happened. Humans stopped wandering. Along the banks of four mighty rivers, the Nile, the Tigris-Euphrates, the Indus, and the Yellow River, people began to settle. For the first time, humanity traded a nomadic life for permanent homes. These rivers were the lifelines of early civilization. They flooded predictably, leaving rich soil perfect for farming. And farming changed everything. When humans grew more food than they could eat, they created surplus. Surplus allowed population. Population allowed specialization. And specialization allowed innovation. Soon, small villages grew into cities, complex human hives buzzing with activity. In Mesopotamia, the world's first true cities rose: Uruk, Babylon, Lagash. Here, people built towering ziggurats, invented the wheel, created the first legal codes, and inscribed the first writing system, cuneiform, on wet clay tablets. Writing transformed humanity. Knowledge could now survive death. In Egypt, the Nile shaped one of history's greatest civilizations. The pharaohs, believed to be god-kings, controlled vast lands. Pyramids pierced the desert sky, built with astonishing precision. Mathematics, medicine, and astronomy flourished. The Egyptians mapped the stars, charted the calendar, and mummified their dead to preserve their journey into the afterlife. Far to the east, the Indus Valley created cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, complete with advanced drainage systems and urban planning unmatched for centuries. Their script remains undeciphered, a mysterious echo from a forgotten world. In China, powerful dynasties emerged along the Yellow River. They mastered bronze, crafted intricate pottery, and developed philosophies that would shape societies for millennia. The mandate of heaven became a defining idea. Rulers governed with divine approval until they lost it. Civilization meant culture, but also conflict. With wealth came power, and with power came war. Armies marched, kingdoms expanded, and empires rose and fell like the tides of history. Yet, with every collapse, humanity advanced. New religions emerged, new technologies flourished, and trade networks stretched across continents. The Silk Road connected China to Rome, carrying silk, spices, ideas, and diseases. Knowledge traveled faster than armies, weaving together distant worlds. Civilization was no longer a cluster of river settlements. It had become a global organism growing, spreading, evolving. And soon, a new force would reshape everything again: philosophy, democracy, and the age of classical empires. Empire, philosophy, science, and the age of conquest. From Greece to Rome, Persia to India, China to the Americas, the ancient world entered a golden age of ideas, power, and ambition. Great thinkers and warriors reshaped human destiny. In Greece, philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle asked bold questions: what is truth? What is justice? What is the purpose of life? Their ideas built the foundation of Western thought. Meanwhile, city-states like Athens experimented with democracy, radical for its time. Then came Alexander the Great, whose armies swept across 3 continents, spreading Greek culture from Egypt to India. The world became more connected, blended, and intellectually alive. Rome built the largest empire the world had ever seen. Their roads, law codes, aqueducts, and engineering marvels defined a new era of civilization. Latin became the language of empire, Roman law the backbone of justice. And their legions, unmatched on the battlefield, shaped borders that still influence modern Europe. In India, the Maurya and Gupta empires flourished. Buddhism and Hinduism spread across Asia, carrying deep spiritual and philosophical traditions. Mathematics blossomed. The concept of zero emerged here, a breakthrough that changed the world. Meanwhile, in China, the Qin and Han dynasties unified the nation, standardized writing, and built the first version of the Great Wall. Chinese inventions like paper, gunpowder, and the compass would later revolutionize global history. Across the ocean, the Americas saw the rise of the Maya, Olmec, and later the Aztec and Inca. They built pyramids, tracked celestial movements, developed calendars, and engineered massive road systems, all without iron tools. The classical world was brilliant but fragile. Civilizations fell to invasions, plagues, internal corruption, and natural disasters. Rome collapsed. Greece fragmented. Great empires turned to dust. Humanity entered a new chapter, one defined by religion, exploration, and global transformation. Faith, empire, plague, and discovery. After the fall of Rome, the world fractured into kingdoms, tribes, and empires. The Middle Ages were not simply dark, they were dynamic, filled with revolutions in faith, knowledge, and global connection. Islamic civilization emerged and rapidly expanded from the Middle East to Spain, carrying with it extraordinary achievements in mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and architecture. Libraries like the House of Wisdom in Baghdad preserved the knowledge of the ancient world while producing their own scientific breakthroughs. In Europe, feudal kingdoms struggled for power, while the church became a dominant political and spiritual force. Gothic cathedrals rose like stone mountains. Universities were founded. Scholars rediscovered Greek and Roman texts, sparking new intellectual life. But then came disaster, the Black Death. In the 14th century, the plague wiped out nearly a third of the continent, reshaping society, weakening feudalism, and setting the stage for transformation. That transformation arrived with the Renaissance, a rebirth of art, science, and exploration. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo, and others pushed the boundaries of human knowledge. Printing spread ideas faster than ever before. Meanwhile, explorers set sail across unknown oceans. Columbus reached the Americas. Vasco da Gama connected Europe to India. Magellan circumnavigated the globe. The world was no longer a collection of isolated civilizations, it had become a single, interconnected human story. This age of exploration brought wealth and innovation, but also conquest, slavery, and empire. European powers colonized vast regions, reshaping cultures, economies, and global history. A new force was rising: science. And with it, the modern world was about to be born. Revolution, technology, war, and humanity's leap beyond Earth. The last 300 years have changed humanity more than the previous 300,000. The scientific revolution unlocked the laws of nature. The Industrial Revolution transformed farms into factories, villages into cities, and muscle power into machine power. Steam engines, electricity, telegraphs, and railroads shrank distances and shrank time. But progress came with a price. The modern era witnessed devastating wars: World War I and World War II, fueled by nationalism, industrial weapons, and political turmoil. Yet out of destruction came new global systems: the United Nations, international cooperation, and rapid scientific growth. The 20th century saw breakthroughs that reshaped life: airplanes, computers, vaccines, the internet, nuclear energy. Human life expectancy soared. Communication became instant. Knowledge became global. And then came humanity's greatest leap. In 1969, astronauts stepped onto the moon. For the first time, humans left their planet, fulfilling a dream older than civilization itself. The space age had begun. Today, humanity stands at the edge of a new frontier. We explore Mars, send probes to distant planets, decode the human genome, and build machines that think. Our ancestors once struck stones together to create fire. Now we ignite rockets powerful enough to escape Earth's gravity. This is the story of civilization, a journey from darkness to discovery, from caves to cities, from the Stone Age to the Space Age. A story of resilience, curiosity, and the unbreakable human spirit.